Hello and welcome once again to Red Gaming Tech for your daily dose of the latest gaming news. My name is Amata. Today is still the 8th of September and I have some news for you concerning GOG, as they have spoken today to Gaming on Linux, and this was from GOG rep Trevor Longino, that unlike Valve's Steam service, they won't be able to make the jump to Linux because basically they don't feel they'd be able to honour its rather strict customer support policies. And he had this to say, quote, "Since our birth over 5 years ago, we have always provided full customer support for all games we have released. That is not going to change. For every game we release, we provide a money-back guarantee. If we can't get the game working on the customer's computer with the help of our support team, we return the money." And he went on to explain further that this becomes somewhat of a logistical nightmare when considering the regular updates and the differences between versions of the Linux operating system. And he said, quote, "The architecture of Linux, with many common distros, each of them updating fairly often, makes it incredibly challenging for any digital distribution company to be able to properly test the game in question and then provide support for the release, all of which our users are accustomed to. There are a number of distros. We can support just one, which is how Steam is doing it, but since we believe strongly in freedom of choice, that's not our preference." And he also explains that unlike other distributors, there's plenty of digital distribution platforms out there these days, GOG does hold itself to the responsibility of ensuring all of its games are compatible with every platform that they support. And he had this to say, "Each time there is a major update in an OS that we support that changes compatibility, we have to devote substantial time and resources to updating our catalogue to work with the update. Imagine if we had 400 games from our 600 plus game catalogue supported on Linux, and we found that a third of them no longer worked in a distro that we supported. Imagine the time and effort that would go into rebuilding 130 games." Now, obviously, the Steam client for Linux and Ubuntu have actually been released in February, and of course they brought out over 50 games on the launch of the Linux Steam client, which is rather awesome to say the least. Now obviously the main thing to remember when comparing Steam and GOG is that Steam is a fairly small service in comparison to Valve and Steam, of course, and until fairly recently they obviously only did old games, which is why they used to stand for Good Old Games, and it was pretty much the only place to legally get hold of some of the classics we all remember from our childhood. Now obviously recently that's changed and they've been doing modern games as well, all of them DRM free. So obviously it's a bit of a different service to Steam and doesn't quite have the might of Valve that Steam has. Obviously they do their best to support the games on their platform, etc, etc, but obviously they do not have the same resources that Valve and Steam do, of course. So I suppose it's understandable that they wouldn't be able to support Linux the way that Valve and Steam are, because, well, even Steam has to limit itself to just one, and of course they have all of the employees and all of the backing of Valve. So it does make sense to me that a smaller site/company might have trouble even with the one version, but it really depends. I'm not a huge knowledge base on Linux, so I can't really say, but from what he's saying, it sounds like a reasonable thing. It's just a bit of a shame because obviously gaming support for Linux is not something that we've really had until recently, of course, with the release of Steam, on the platform, and it would be nice if more and more sites/digital distribution services actually jumped onto the bandwagon, so to speak, and offered more variety, more choice, and more support for the Linux platform. Maybe in the future they'll figure out a way to at least support the same one that Steam does, but it's probably not going to happen anytime soon. Of course, this is not like, oh, it's never ever going to happen. It's for the foreseeable future. So if we do end up seeing it, it's probably not going to be for quite some time. So it's a bit of a shame for you Linux users watching this video, but I suppose you do at least have the Steam service. Anyway, that is me done for this video. Hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.